Well, I've talked about volcanoes and even featured a couple of videos about them, like Krakatoa and a few others that have really caused problems to humanity. And sometimes, like Pompeii, we're well aware of what happened and the things caused by it and everything. But one thing that people don't usually figure in is that downwind from this eruption, it causes problems with the people that over the next hill and valley or over the horizon aren't even aware that the volcano had ever gone off, and it causes problems with them. I don't know if you've been watching the news lately, but and not regular news, but just happenings, I guess you would say, in natural history happenings. So there's been a lot of volcanoes going off. We're all familiar with the one up in Iceland up here that I clicked on earlier. And you see that pretty picture of the vibration of the lava coming out that they captured, and that's real cool looking. I always like looking at lava and magma and stuff. It's just it's almost like staring into a fire, if you will. And it's always a neat thing to me because it's creating the newest place that's on Earth. I remember in Hawaii, whenever it's spilling out into the Gulf there and it's creating more of it, and you have to walk across the lava field to get there. They tell you could fall through at any point, so everybody has to be real careful. But they have a marked area that they really know is pretty good. But things can change, by the way. But then it's spilling out into the Gulf, and that's actually adding to that island, and it's becoming more of it. And because it's just there now, brand new, as you're looking at it, you're looking at the newest place on Earth. And that's pretty exciting. It's also exciting kind of to walk across that lava field and wonder if you're all going to die, because if it busts through like this hole in the second from the top video here, it could get you pretty bad. Whether you just burn a leg or something goes on and you wish you were dead, or it would actually kill you, is another thing. But that's not what this video is really about here. After clicking on that top video, and you see I only saw about 2/3 of it, in the right hand side there was 3 or 4 other videos about volcanoes, and I had seen some recently about it, but a couple that I was unaware of. And I was unaware that Kilauea was back active now as of May 20th 2020. This is just a couple of days after that, so in the last few days both of these have become active and putting out stuff. But worse than that, or stronger than that, or more important than that, there have been other volcanic eruptions that have been going off. And, there is a report here, like this one that you see here, that 52 volcanoes have erupted in the past month. And what's going on? And some of these are fairly small, and people were aware of them, and USGS and all these geologists and stuff were well aware that things are becoming active or whatever. What the oddity is that so many at one time are becoming active, more than 3 times the amount that a few years ago to decade they called a pretty high amount. In other words, it got up to 10, and they said, man, that's getting pretty active now with all this volcanic activity. Well, now we have 52 that have gone off just in this past month's period. If you want to go from 2020 to 2021, you get a larger number. If you want to go from 2005 to our current date, the number multiplies. And so it's not that we're becoming aware of it more, or that there's more news about it and everything because of global warming or anything that they're going to try to push out of this, or try to blame it on white people. There's got to be something that they caused to make the volcano erupted. They pissed off Pele or something. Well, that's in Hawaii. Well, it's not in Hawaii. Well, whatever. So you can see all these eruptions that are going on, but there's a big difference between something like this, which is putting out a little bit of gas and some stuff in the air, but erupting earth or magma upon the earth and creating new land, than there would be from something like the one that's in the middle now, or the top one where we talked about, like Krakatoa, one of the largest eruptions we've ever realized even happened. And of course now we realize that it happened, but the people around the world that it affected whenever it happened didn't know why everything turned dark and there was a year without a summer and all the things that went on we talked about in the other videos. In fact, volcanic activity has caused the end of the very first dynasty of Egypt that created the pyramids and so on. Shortly after they did that, a couple of dynasties in later, they had a great drought and it caused a great problem, and they went into their first intermediate period, which they eventually bounced out of course. But what caused that 90-year period of real screwed up weather? I mean, it's almost 100 years. Think about it whenever you go through the full expanse of it. And that was caused by a volcano we know now. They wouldn't have known the volcano is the problem. They would have just had the effect of droughts and all these other situations that happened due to it. Here's another volcano listed up here in the middle, but they're talking about Yellowstone. Well, Yellowstone, of course, is a huge volcanic caldera. Most people that go into Yellowstone don't even realize that the whole of Yellowstone is pretty much inside of a giant volcano caldera, where it's not a mountain that you normally think of coming up to a crest like a pyramid, but it's exploded so rapidly and so dramatically that it left a crater in the ground and collapsed down. And so you'll see this thing, and it looks like a cauldron, so hence the word caldera. But the whole of Yellowstone is a sunken caldera. And if it ever goes off again like that, we're going to have a huge problem. Well, here's this fear-mongering channel telling you, I know it's small, I'll read it here on Breaking News. Yellowstone volcano eruption will result in 15 million people in the U.S. wiped out instantly. And of course, there'd be a lot more after that, but that would be if it did its worst scenario and faced the wrong way and wind was going the wrong way and everything. So a total worst case scenario. If it only went off to one of the other eruption amounts, worse than the worst one ever happened out of there, like Krakatoa and Anak Krakatoa have made a lot less eruptions than that huge one that happened. But if it did the huge one that happened, it's possible it could do something like that. Now, here's the great part. The scientists and preachers of the apocalypse are sure this will happen in a matter of days. Oh, yeah, so you got a fearmonger and throw that in there, and you want to put that together. You want to put scientists and preachers together in the same sentence, and then say apocalypse in the same sentence. Yeah, in a matter of days. Yeah, so give it that idea. By the way, I've already done videos on the idea of the whole apocalypse and Armageddon and how that happened in 73 AD already, just like Jesus said. I mean, he was telling the people there it happened during this generation. I know when people read it now, they think, oh, well, it's this generation then. It's like, duh. No, he was talking to those people. It already happened. It was the coming. The second coming was Titus, all these things. People should have realized this a long time ago because they would go, oh my gosh, this all deifies Titus. And yeah, but anyhow, let's get back to volcanoes. You see, a volcano that just burps out like this isn't really too much of a problem. But a volcano that puts out stuff in the atmosphere like these two here can definitely cause a problem, not for the locals that are just around it with eruptions and stuff going on like a Pompeii thing, but people far, far in the distance that are unaware of it happening. And while there are 52 current active ones going on there, and that's a radical amount, none of them are just giant enough to be causing a problem like we're kind of referring to and everything. But one wonders whenever you start to add 52 smaller ones together, how many it takes to make the perfect storm to where here we go with, well, that's just as bad as if one big one happened far away from everybody. Not necessarily at you, but far away from everybody. So we're going to have this effect that's going on. In a large portion of the planet, probably. Wouldn't you think? If it gets any worse, or we have a couple that really vent out in the stovepipe, if you will, we're going to have that problem. Now, people living close to it, like this eruption here that's wiping out a road in Hawaii, are one issue. And the caldera, the giant caldera, the Yellowstone is inside, effectively. And if it erupted, that would be a totally different issue. And if one happened off the beaches, then it would cause tsunamis, and that's a different issue. Now look at this picture right here, all these people standing up next to the edge, and if you look from this side, it's kind of undersculpted a little bit and all fired up. Right below these people, nine would not be standing there like some Lord of the Rings type concept, because it can give away. In fact, while they're looking here, chunks of it give away, and the people just back up about 5 more feet and then stand there and go, ooh. It's like a fireworks show. This picture down here was where these people were coming up to look at a volcano actively on an island, and whenever they got there, the place was erupting or started to erupt right then, and then they had to leave real quick. They're like, oh my God, we're going to get crap on us. Then they realized there was already people there, so they went back real quick and started helping them, and they called for help to come out, but it didn't come out till later. Anyhow, the father of one of the girls there actually died. It was pretty much sulfur asphyxiation. They all got singed and stuff and close to it. It was a hell of a happening here. But you know, in the last few years, there's been so many volcanoes go off, and then here currently we're having even more and more. And I don't want to fearmonger you, but again, what I'm trying to tell you is whenever it puts out a large amount of crap in the atmosphere like this, as opposed to something like this or down here, then that can cause a problem. And I'm not sure, and I'm not a volcanologist, whether, okay, well, there's 52, but only 16 of them are outputters. Well, if you put those 16 together, is that one big outputter? Does it really get thinned down because it's not from exactly one concentrated place? Do we have that effect? Or what effect are we going to have? And oh, by the way, while you try to figure that out, don't try to figure out a way to blame it on white people or fearmonger me in some way. Don't say climate change and then try to put it together and say, oh, well, man, along with things like this are causing, because a lot of the climate change is caused by things like this without man really being involved, or that you could even blame on him. I'm sure Pele's not mad at cow farts. But you look at these that just happened. Munster volcano caught on camera from 2 months ago here. So if we get outside of that month that we're talking about, we still have big ones that are going off. Now what it is this volcano kept erupting to inside of this month, and it may even still be active. Therefore, they can claim it as part of that 52. But look at the output coming out of this thing. If we add that together, are we going to have an issue from this? Surely mankind can adapt and do things for it and help out to make things work for everybody if they're well aware of things happening. But are you well aware of all these volcanoes that have been going off? What do you think about all this volcanic activity? Just let me know downstairs, you know. I mean, I love watching volcanoes go, and I don't really like, looking at ones like this, but if you wait till nighttime, all of a sudden it looks real cool. It really does. And there's some videos out there that'll show volcanic eruption comparisons and how much it does, but what you're looking there, this big put out that gets put out in the air, is so much more than any atom bomb thing go on. And although it's not nuclear, that fallout still happens, boy. And which way is it going? Well, it's going right across wherever. Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Northern, where's it going at? Well, there's little ones all over the place going off, putting a little bit of shit everywhere. Well, how's that going to work out? Just want you to be aware, and it just seemed to be an egregious amount here, and something that maybe I ought to bring up. I mean, not too long ago, I made a video just about one volcano going off, and I made a description of, you know, a few of these have been going off kind of regularly. Well, between then and now, over 100 volcanoes have gone off on the planet. Yeah, that's I'm going to call that an egregious amount. Peace.